Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Texans Probe. Today, of course, we're back with Drew. Gonna recap the disappointing game against the Lions, game that the Texans should have won, but unfortunately, second half just completely fell apart. Seems like a common theme with this Texans team. But I think there was a lot of positives to take away from this game. Also, that while it sucked that they lost, I was encouraged, especially the first half. Obviously, I was encouraged by certain things that they did. I'm sure we'll get into some of the topics that people were interested in as we get through our mailbox. But Drew, what do you have to say about the game?
You're right. Like the first half, very encouraging. Like super great. You have 23-7. When it comes down to it, the reason why the Texans that there's a big concern is not necessarily about their record at the end of the year. It's what they're gonna do after the end of the regular season. And losing after being up 23-7 just shows to me that they can't do anything in the postseason. Or I mean, they haven't shown it. They legitimately haven't shown that they're going to be able to do anything. They haven't beat a good team. They beat the Bills with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins. Nico Collins for the first half. I guess um, the defense has done some good things against good teams, as we saw.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's just it's. I mean, like you said before, it's not even like upsetting. It's like we're not even that surprised. I guess this is nothing new
No.
to us, really. I just don't know what really to expect from this team at this point. I'm not really sure what they're gonna be able to do. That you cannot lose a game when you're down 20, when you're up 23-7 and you intercept the opposing quarterback 5 times. Matter of fact, no team has done that before, but the Texans managed to do that, and that's a big problem. And honestly, I'll say this: I know you said it was encouraging. I didn't think the offense looked good at all.
Yeah, I can kind of well, I thought the passing game looked okay. The
No, I
run
didn't. I
game,
didn't think. I didn't think
you
it
didn't think
looked. You
so?
know, no.
Okay. I thought first half the offense looked okay. The running game was just non-existent. Um, but I was encouraged by how they played in the first half, especially without Nico. Um, and then the second half, yeah, it just fell apart. But a lot of it was just the defense forcing turnovers. But the Texans' EPA first half, drive wise, drop back wise, was good. Um, they moved the ball decently, even with the turnovers. I thought there was bad. I mean, it still wasn't perfect, but um, I thought they moved the ball better than they had in past, especially against the top defense like the Lions. So I was encouraged, but I can understand why you weren't all that encouraged by it.
It looks out of sync, but like the whole time. That's kind of the best way
Yeah,
to describe it. I felt that this time around, Stroud missed throws and misreads in the first half.
hmm,
And he obviously did that in the second half.
yeah. Definitely was not his best game. Um,
Not not
yeah,
not at all. I think that
no,
he's definitely one to blame. Um, I don't think the receivers actually really struggled to separate all that much. There were some concepts I could point to that aren't really helping out the offense, particularly in the red zone by Slowick. Slowick also up the amount of runs on second down and medium to long, which is now
yeah.
apparently the most in the NFL. So that's an obvious thing that now you can do that. You can call that, but it has to work, and it just
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Well, yeah, because if you look at it just from the stretch of, from October, the only team that's even close is the Eagles, but the Eagles actually do it well, so it doesn't bother anybody. Eagles run the ball well, so you can run it on. But when you run it the most and you're also the worst at doing it, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't
Um,
make sense.
no,
Another
and like
thing,
like you said, this was one of Stroud's worst games of his career. I thought. I mean, he just didn't play very well. Um, and it happens. I mean, it just wasn't a very good game. Um, but I thought the pass protection was better.
Yes.
Actually, we'll get into
Without a
this.
doubt, the pass protection was better. There's no
Yeah.
sugarcoating it. Like that
So
is true.
that's why I'm encouraged. The pass protection was better, and while Stroud had one of his worst games, there was still good stuff in the passing game in the first half. It wasn't perfect, but hopefully you're able to. I thought honestly that I thought he made mistakes, but it looked to me like he was more settled down compared to the Jets game, which I do
Body
think,
language was good. That
yeah.
right. That's
So,
what you
and
need.
that's
But
what
at
I'm
the
kind of
same
looking at
time,
is
like
that
he's
I thought,
missing things.
yeah.
Part of the
And I
he's not
think
like
now it's a
all the
mental
concepts.
issue where I think he's so sped up mentally that I think if the pass protection just holds up better for next 2 weeks, it kind of gets you kind of regress back to like I have time, right? So I
Which
think it's a
ironically is the beauty of the beauty of the next three games that the Texans
yeah,
play. It's like a cup. It's like cupcake games in college football.
yeah,
Cowboys, Jaguars, Titans. It's just they're so lucky. But no, my thing is that's true. That'd be great if that happens. But he's missing parts of the reads and concepts. Like you can hate on Bobby Slowick all you want, and I'm mad at Bobby Slowick about the run, the timely running this. Like his problem is not play design, it's what the
no,
plays that you're calling in the situations. So, but that being said, if CJ had read the field better, it might make Slowick feel a certain way about his play calling. You might not
yeah,
see second and long runs if you can just go out there and operate with a basic two-man concept. And then another thing, this was probably a little bit more by Slowick. The condensed formations have to go.
yeah,
They
yeah,
so the thing with the run game is they didn't do anything different, but that's a problem because they've been running the same things for weeks and weeks and weeks, and so it was so easy for the Lions to game plan against it, to read their keys. We've seen this before. This is what we're going to do to stop it, and that's what they did, and that all comes from the fact that the Texans, if you look up the numbers on it, they probably run condensed formations more than anyone. They run the same type of condensed formations like gun tight, two tight end looks of the wing. They're both on the same side, or they're just right there, like on opposite sides, and the receivers are going to be close to them too. If you keep doing that, teams will prepare for that. You have to change out of that, create the same look from another formation, but what does that tell you? It tells you concerns about Slowick's play calling, but also the execution of everyone else if you don't think they can do anything else. It's a big major problem that cannot be. I don't know how you could possibly solve that at this point in the season. I know they have a bye week still, that's just great, but it's too late. It's too late, and it just seems like Slowick wants to continue to do this.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking about this with somebody just about how the Shanahan offense, it doesn't really necessarily fit Stroud, I don't think that well, and it doesn't fit the Texans offense as a whole because they play a lot of two tight ends, but neither tight end can block. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're condensing these formations, letting them get more guys in the box, but Schultz and Stover both don't block. I mean, like you could go watch they don't block. I mean, Stover
Look, they'll
tries.
they'll go to Stover's side more often than not. So Stover will play with tenacity, but he's not finishing blocks or engaging for long enough. So you're right there in it. You're right, and then they miss Brevin Jordan, and then if you
Yeah,
put Team Vitoriano on the field, they feel like that's just kind of a key to what they might be doing. And it's an all messed up situation.
yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into the mailbox that we have. First time that we're doing this, so we got some replies. Let's see what we got going on here. Let me get this. All right, let's see. We got. All right, we'll start off with the first one. So here we go.
Okay.
From our guy Big E. Thoughts on Scruggs at left guard and Patterson at center. So Texans roll out the new offensive line configuration. I'm sure we'll have the same opinion on this. We haven't talked about this, but Patterson looked good. Juice still can't block a stunt. He has good moments. That's what's frustrating to me. Is when you watch Juice in pass protection, he's not a bad pass protector, but he can't figure out how to block a stunt, and it's so bizarre.
Absolutely. I mean, I really want to find that one clip. when they were in empty or whatever, and it happened. But I mean, dude, he had his eyes on the one guy, and he simply never put his eyes on the guy who stunted in. His head was not
Yep.
towards him at all. But I don't, and it is so it's to the point where I don't understand how you're not thinking about this, and it
Yeah,
just
I don't
goes to
know.
show about the IQ of yourself as a football player, getting too caught up in the game and not correcting your mistakes. And that's a problem. That's a big
Yeah, but
problem.
I will. But for me, Jarrett Patterson gets a good thumbs up. Good performance for Patterson. I liked him. I've liked him for a while. I think he played well, and for the most part, the pass protection was better, like we talked about. So
He's a center,
Patterson,
and that's what you get when you have a good quality, smart, intelligent center there.
yeah,
Now, and I don't think he struggled in the run game. His job in the run game against the Lions was just helping out Juice, helping out Mason, or getting to the second level. He was never
mhm,
really put in any one-on-one situations, and that's really to me what a center should do. And
yeah,
so I think that that's going to be the move going forward. But I don't know what Juice Scruggs provides to this team anymore. If he can't pick up a stunt, his pad level's too high against the run and the pass, quite
yeah,
frankly.
yeah,
Um, he hasn't it doesn't have any highlights, that's for sure. He has a bunch of low lights, and he's getting picked on. So I'm very, very concerned about that. And unfortunately, guys, he was a second round pick. You
yeah.
know, that's not too far away from first round picks. And what term do we use for first round picks? Bust. He is
Yep.
being very, very close to bust category to me.
All right, Jordan. Here we go. What should we do with Shaq Mason after the season? Um, I can tell you what we should do. He should be
I,
cut.
I can handle this one.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah, yeah, he should be gone.
I'm not
Um,
sure why anyone would trade for him.
yeah, no,
If he wants to restructure his contract and give us some money back, that's great. But I'm really sick and tired of Mason. Do similar to Juice. He is also playing with very poor pad level. I haven't You haven't seen him overwhelm anyone with power. He gets knocked back all the time. And he can also get picked on at times too. And it's just like
yeah,
he
I
hasn't
have
won a matchup, it feels.
no. I feel like I actually have more confidence in Juice than I do with Mason at this point because at least if Juice is getting a one-on-one, I feel okay about it. Like he doesn't seem to have too big of issues one-on-one. He more so struggles at picking up blitzes or stunts. Mason is just getting his ass kicked no matter what happens. So I actually prefer Juice at this point. So, um,
And it's not a
yeah, Shaq
compliment.
Mason.
It's not necessarily a
No,
compliment to
no,
Scruggs.
no.
I mean, geez, I really, I don't know, and it's just hard. It's hard. It's so hard to watch, and who would want him? Who would want?
No,
And we are just
nobody.
literally stuck with him right now. But they won't bench him because
No.
that type of thing doesn't really happen that much, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it. I don't know how he's even playing right now. Oh
Yep.
yeah, let's check up
I
on him.
believe he has an out after this year, which could potentially save him. Yep, you get out of the deal this off season. So hopefully that's what
God.
happens. Hopefully, I would assume that's what'll happen. Get a new right guard in there, figure out what's going on with Juice, stuff like that. From Roman, we have okay potential staff names. I saw this one earlier when I was trying to think about it. Honestly, I'd be shocked if Slowick is gone and they don't just hire from in the building.
That's fair. I mean, I think they're high on Gerard Johnson in general.
Yeah, yeah, and I like Bill Lazor too, who's I don't know what his technical role is, but he's been a play caller before. He's done pretty good things. So I would be pretty surprised. And if Slowick and honestly Slowick may be I'm not gonna rule out the idea that in the offseason he could get fired because if they lose in the wild card or something, people are gonna be upset. And I don't think D'Amico is going to take the blame for it because his defense probably wasn't the reason that they lost. So, um, I do think Slowick could be out if they don't pick it up offensively, but it probably would just be Gerard.
Say that D'Amico is kind of really only talked about execution, right? When it
Mm,
comes to failures at this point, he really hasn't talked down on Slowick. I would be what I would want, ideally for the Texans offense is to have a passing game coordinator and a run game coordinator, because that's what they did in San Francisco. Um, so I think that's something they should look
mhm.
into doing, just so that you can have better situational calls too. Because remember, when D'Amico Ryans is, though he did say he was adding input, D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach. That's one less quality voice on situational offensive football, and obviously
Yeah.
play design. So to have an passing game coordinator, an offensive run game coordinator, and that can be very beneficial, but at the same time, Gerard Johnson's probably going to look to be an offensive coordinator somewhere else. If it's
Yeah.
not in Houston, so you might just have to hire him as the offensive coordinator and give him a fat check and roll with that. And
Yep.
but also just simply talk about changing up the schematics for everything. Like I said, the condensed formations have got to go. It just doesn't really seem to be working. He played for a lot of football teams. My God.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So he
Um,
knows a lot. He
Yep, and
and
he's
look,
been around. He's been around. He was assistant quarterback coach with, I believe that was, yeah, KFC was there at that point. Frank Reich was the coach at this point. Uh, Still was Frank Reich, and then he was in San Francisco, 2017. That's still Shanahan. So he's been around. Um, he's coached for a lot of teams, and like you said, he's played for a ton of teams. Um, I mean, how many NFL teams is that? One, two, three, four, six NFL teams and like ton of XFL teams. And he played at A&M.
he's from Houston, so this would be an ideal situation for him to be the offense coordinator in Houston. One thing I was thinking, obviously, I would hope for it to be like a Mike McDaniel situation if he would to have gone fired, but I think the Dolphins are going to go on a little bit of a run here,
Yeah,
and
I do too.
obviously Shane Steichen, but that's probably not going to happen.
Nope,
Um,
most likely I don't think so.
So
Um,
it would have to be like a guy, already obviously Gerard Johnson. It would be a shame if like Slowick got fired and then Johnson went somewhere else. That would really,
that
I
probably
think
wouldn't
that would
happen though, I
suck.
don't think.
Right, I think that would suck.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's got to be just a group of guys putting together good play designs, a variety of play designs, and good situational calls. So having multiple coordinators could be beneficial there. Could
Yep,
be.
for sure. All right. And then let's go on the next one. Thoughts on Nico Autry. He's been
Before we just
awesome.
go, yeah, he's amazing. We can show you
Yeah,
a clip of this real quick. He put on one of the best moves you'll see season versus Penei Sewell. I mean, it's just incredible, quite frankly. You don't see Penei Sewell get knocked back like that. Like, of course, if it was a regular, bum like Dan Skipper, I'd be like not really too surprised. But this Penei Sewell, and he just got completely overwhelmed. Autry's gonna attack him high, take one arm off, reset the left hand, and swipe that off. A little bit of bend and closes, and I guess he kind of gets his hand on the ball, and
yeah.
then
This should have been
interception.
a fumble. I know they
Yeah,
counted it as a pick, but it should have been a fumble. But it's
it,
impressive too that he gets two swipes in here at golf. He misses and then still gets back.
okay, I see
Yeah, it's
it.
pretty impressive play. Um, for sure. Yeah, he's been really good. He was again. We actually talked about him before the Jets game, and I think he's had like three sacks since then. Well, I guess if this counts as a sack, so
Hope
he's
so.
been
Actually, I don't
very
know.
good. It doesn't count as a sack, I'm pretty sure, but I think it should.
Yeah.
They may change it because it again to me it looks like a fumble, but they counted as a pick. Not that it really makes a huge difference, but and
It's a good
then
pass rush move, and him and I want to talk about Daniel Hunter too, I guess, because
yeah,
he was dominant as well. It was fun to watch. Simple as that. He's a good football player.
for sure. And then from Cal we have okay. So thoughts on the team. This is just him giving his thoughts. He said we're a year away. Signs the dominant team, a Lions type team in the future. The doom and gloom of the season shouldn't overshadow the brightness of the future. I kind of shared this exact same statement as him. Um, this is 100% correct. Like 100% correct. Which is why, yes, it sucks, but you've pretty much figured out what your problems are. It's offense. I mean, the defense is great. It's situational coaching and the offensive line play. That's really that's been your issues. Pretty much the whole season. Like we talked about, Stroud did not play that well against the Lions. Has he been an issue this season? No. Um, he's been the solution to a lot of the issues that the Texans have had, right? So, um, that's the reality of the situation is, and even in the first half against Detroit, you can see the type of team that they can be, but there's some luck involved in that for sure. But um, you see it. They can be a dominant defensive team and they can throw the ball if the offensive line protects and things can just go well, but they still struggle in the offensive trenches. Um, it's not just the offensive line, too, because the tight ends have the same trouble. They don't block well in the trenches. So
Definitely gonna be nice to have, a Brevin Jordan back next year.
it really would be. It really would be.
You can draft another
Um,
guy to take him
yeah,
over. I mean, I don't know.
Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin. Big fan of that guy. Man, I
Look,
watched him against
they're
A&M
paying. Yeah,
a
I
couple
know,
months ago,
right?
man. He was torching us. So
That's pretty
that'd be
cool.
a weapon. That'd be a weapon.
Now, obviously, they're
Uh,
paying Schultz a lot of money, which really looking back on it just kind of hurts. It's a lot of money for someone who gets three balls a game, doesn't block too well. But you're right. Look, Stroud is a good football player. He throws a good ball. Makes plays that others don't. So we know we have that. And then, like we've been saying, we know the issue now. There's
yep.
no way that they're gonna walk out next season with the same offensive line.
No.
It's understandably tough
Yeah.
to change that right now, and it sucks. But look,
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it because people were so upset they didn't make a move at the deadline. Now Nate Davis is a free agent. So if that was your big deadline move that they wanted him to make, then there you go. He's not going to fix anything, but he's there. Um, so
I mean,
it does exist.
Nate Davis exists, but he struggled on the Bears. He showed up with a fake back injury apparently on Sunday morning. If that's the football player that you want on your favorite team,
Yeah.
by all
And we
means,
already
go.
have such an issue with offensive line laziness. That's the last thing that we need.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
It's that simple. Like that's who you want, bro. Go. Yeah, but we're not gonna sit here and get on our knees for Nate Davis anymore.
no,
I
no,
mean,
that's honestly, like I said, I have confidence that Jarrett Patterson can be the center for this team moving forward. Just
years.
figure out the guard play. And hopefully Juice
Yeah.
Scruggs can just be like, oh, maybe a stunt's coming this time ever so often, and he'd be a pretty good NFL player. But unfortunately, it's not happening right now. So that's where we're at with that. But I'm not ready to completely give up on Juice Scruggs yet. I'm not there yet. I'm holding out hope that he can just figure out this issue because he shows good things on tape. That's why it's so frustrating to me. Um, okay, we'll move on to the topics um, from Cal. So, topic number one, Kamari and Kalen's performance uh, was impressive. I said it on here last week. I've said it on Twitter. Kamari Lassiter has been this team's best defensive back this season, and people hate it, but I truly believe that. And like yesterday, I thought Stingley was, or not yesterday, last game, I thought Stingley was better. But Stingley's had some rough games. Lassiter's been pretty consistent for the most part. Um, and Bullock's, we kind of talked about Bullock coming into the year. He's what we thought he is. He's an unbelievable deep field safety, awesome range, really good player.
I will say I don't think that Kalen had a dominant performance. I didn't really get that as a takeaway. I thought Kamari last year had his best game of his career though.
I did too.
Uh,
Yeah.
and the fact that this guy's tracking the ball, like people don't understand if you don't watch college football.
Yeah, he couldn't track the ball at
He
all
didn't
at Georgia
have
now.
Georgia, and then the burst that he showed, covering the in breakers, man, that's special for a guy who ran a 4.6. I mean,
Yep.
look, the two things you that people knocked him on, lack of ball production and speed. Well, the speed part really should never doubted him on. The ball skills was just relevant because he didn't know what the hell he was doing to play the ball, but he proved that wrong. Hopefully he continues to play like that. I don't know if he's been the best DB all year. I had my issues with him the first 5 weeks. I thought he was the one getting a little lucky, grabby.
Oh yeah, yeah. He got lucky early in season two, for sure. I mean,
And
but honestly, the reality of the situation is they're both good corners, so it's a good
yeah,
situation to have.
and then
And
obviously
then
Kalen was
yeah,
in like Eric Murray's position on like the Sam Laporta big
yeah, he makes it.
catch.
Yeah,
He makes the play because Murray just looked so stiff. He wasn't able to recover. He took a poor angle, overreacted. I mean that kind of stuff just can't happen. So and so it's nice to have like more talented player like Bullock on the roster, but hopefully he's in that situation next time.
yeah, for
But not
sure,
necessarily a dominant performance just because he didn't get to play. He objectively didn't get to play all that much.
for sure. All right, second topic: what offer should the Texans give Petrie in the offseason? He is eligible to be extended this offseason and doesn't have a fifth year option. So it's kind of it would be the same situation as the Nico contract that was handed out. I'm kind of interested. Hold up. I want to look
Compare
up
some players.
nickel contracts
Yeah,
to see what they have got
because the thing is,
because
this is a rising position, I would
yeah,
say. It's different than the past.
yeah, see so
And
much
he
nickel
also
and the Texans
is
play more nickel than anybody.
right.
So let's see.
Well, he's not. Is Lenore actually a nickel?
I don't know
I
why
think so.
defense. I don't think he is either.
He plays on the outside.
Yeah, I don't know why that showed up. Let's see. Let's just do this. Defensive back. Let's see if we can
Was
sort.
a nickel, I know. I
Corner. Yeah, you may only be able to sort by corner, but I
know
believe
Marlon
the
Humphrey's a nickel
highest
now.
paid. Yeah, I believe the highest paid nickel is technically. Well, I want to say is Johnson a nickel? I think he is, right?
Michael Carter and DJ Reed.
Yep. Let's see.
The it's Michael Carter.
So I want to say one of the higher paid ones was Kenny Moore, right? Didn't he get paid what 10 million a year?
Yeah, that's
Teron
valuable.
Johnson. Yeah, I think Teron Johnson, isn't he a nickel? Or am I wrong about
Yes,
that?
he
Okay, so
is.
he got paid what he's getting 10.2. So I would say Petry's probably below them, but I think he would get like I think a fair offer would be like 9 million a year.
He might be
Eight,
below them, but
nine.
his age would allow him to get the
Yeah.
same. And his production this season, and knowing that he kind of just had a sophomore slump, like I don't know. I mean, feels like he could
Yeah,
get
maybe get
10
10.
mil.
Yeah,
Yeah,
10. Yeah, it could
and
give
I
him
think the
3 years
like
30 or 4 years 40, somewhere around there.
and he's a player that you just kind of want on your football team, I
Yeah,
think.
for
So
sure.
he'll be an extension. He won't touch free agency. That's something Bill O'Brien would let happen, but hopefully we don't do
Yeah,
that
I would
anymore.
assume he gets locked up. Um,
Yeah.
and then third topic, what does Xavier Hutchinson do?
This sounds like you're just hating Cal when you say that. I mean,
Oh yeah, Cal, just for the record, Cal is a Xavier Hutchinson hater. He hates him.
yeah,
Um, and I will say I'm not a very big Xavier Hutchinson fan too, because I just don't see a lot of him getting open. Um, but
well, I you know, I'm not high on the Texans passing game right now, just in general.
yeah,
But I think that there were times where there was at least three times where I thought he got open, like separation wise, and
Yeah.
then schematically, I felt that he was open at times too, and that's where Stroud didn't necessarily read the field properly, or like hitching, progressing. So I think that Hutchinson is going to be just fine, and I think that he's a decent enough blocker. He's got good size, and he had that, the underthrown ball by Stroud to him. He was
Yeah.
open. And that's not
Yeah,
actually
he was
something we've
open.
seen
Yeah.
from Hutchinson. He won with long speed, which I thought was nice to see, and I don't know, but obviously, it's a luxury to have a good wide receiver three, and that's not even what Hutchinson is here to do. So I got no problems with Xavier Hutchinson whatsoever.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next. All right. At this point in the season, rate moves we've made in 2024 based on how it impacted us in the short and long term. And then whatever is haunting you or has pleased you. Okay. We can go through. I think this would actually be kind of fun. So we can
Yeah.
do like let's do top three moves of the offseason and then bottom three. So let's do like our top three and then bottom three. So um I'm gonna just do it by it doesn't short or long, so it doesn't matter, just top three in general. So
Mhm.
I my favorite move of the offseason, I think this is kind of a hot take. I still think my favorite move of the offseason is the Aziz signing. I think he's been awesome for this team. And I like the guy a ton. Um, I think he's been the best. And then I think it would be Joe Mixon. And then I'd probably go, if we're going with the draft, I'd probably go Kamari. Because I think if this team didn't have Kamari, it'd get pretty ugly without when you look at the team's corner depth. So I'd
The kid
say,
was hurt. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
I'd say Kamari is that third. I mean, Hunter's been awesome. You know, Diggs was playing well before the injury. There's a lot of good moves that they've made. You could talk about Bullock's been good, obviously. Um, let's see, like, I mean, there's a lot of moves that they've made that I think, I mean, people would hate it, but resigning Eric Murray was a good move. Bringing him back to start some games for you was a good move.
Oh
He's
yeah,
been
good
a
value.
Yep, good value signing there. Um, and what else did they do? Trying to think. Um, what draft? I mean,
Him settle.
yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about him. Folu's another good one.
All of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much all the moves that they've made have been good moves. I mean, the Texans pretty much make consistently good moves until you get to the
Did they make
offensive
a
line.
bad move? Okay, all right. Obviously, it sucks that Stover got put in the situation that he's
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
but he does not fit he has the tenacity, like I said, but he's just not a blocking tight end. Unfortunately,
No,
that and as a
he
third
wasn't a
round
blocking
pick.
tight end at Ohio State, so I don't know why they thought this is what they were gonna get.
So my thing with the offseason is if they knew what the problems were going to be, offensive line, obviously they probably wouldn't have traded, the way they did for Diggs and all that, and or they may not have drafted Kamari if they knew that. They may have signed someone else. Obviously,
Yeah,
the Mason contract, annoyingly frustrating, whatever. So and then you know, so Stover really shouldn't be in this spot, but I guess it's a bad move because I didn't like the pick in general.
yeah.
I
I
think
wasn't a big fan of it either.
that draft had a lot of good third rounders, man. So that was really disappointing. Like, and the same thing to the Juice Scruggs pick. Well, 2 years ago, like there were
Yeah, I wasn't a
so
fan of that one
many
either.
good players. There were so many good players in the second round, and
Yeah, I
they
wasn't a
just,
fan of that.
yeah,
Here, I mean, we can actually go look. 2023 NFL draft because I remember being upset when they picked Juice. Not because I knew they needed a center, but I remember
passed
not
on
necessarily.
Tippin, I think, from
I don't
Wisconsin.
necessarily remember. I don't necessarily know how well he's played, but I remember being upset that John Michael Smith
Oh,
was
yes.
like
Yeah, they passed
five
on
picks ahead,
JMS.
and they sat and took Juice instead. I was upset about that.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, they took him at 62. It's close to a third, but if you go to the third,
See, take a
I
look at
mean, he's terrible. Um, I
I
like
don't
Drew
think Tyler
Sanders.
Steen. Tyler Steen was actually projected to be a guard in the NFL. Hasn't gotten to
Yeah.
play yet. Could have got him. Um,
Um,
Drew
Byram Young's
Sanders.
been a decent player. You know, but this Byram Young's also been a decent
He's
player.
so good.
Tucker
Tucker Craft would
Craft,
have been amazing
yeah,
in this role.
yeah.
Um,
A Chain, I
Tyjae
would have
Spears.
loved it. I would have loved it, but I mean, it
Yeah, at the
wasn't good.
time, Tyjae
I
Spears or
thought
A
Dalen
Chain,
Henley.
and
I
yeah,
loved Dalen Henley
right.
as a
Me
player. I was
too.
huge on him.
Big
Overshone, I was
E, if
huge
you're
on as
watching,
well.
me and Big E love Dalen
Um,
Henley. Michael Wilson, I liked Michael Wilson.
yeah, I
I
actually
didn't,
didn't hate
I
Stormberg. I
did,
know
I
he
didn't
actually
like
got cut.
Stroud.
I think
Yeah, I don't think he
he
panned
got
out.
cut and then signed with the Bears today. I saw, um, but I mean, it's unfortunate. But the main thing that upset me was just sitting when JMS was falling. I actually don't know how well he's played. I know you watch the Giants, so you may know, but no idea. Let's see. Let's check out his PFF
I don't think
grades.
anyone on the Giants' offensive line has been good in like 5 years, other than Andrew
Yeah.
Thomas,
Andrew
obviously.
Thomas, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Let's see.
Like, come on.
Yeah, he's just let's see. Oh, well, he can't pass back, so he's useless. He would be completely useless for us. But
Great film though
still at
from
the
Minnesota. Great film.
yeah, I liked him a lot in the draft, which is why I was upset at the time. But let me click out of this. Okay. Kind of crazy that Daniel Jones is a 72 grade. I feel like I've watched him and felt like that's not deserved.
They
Um,
must like running quarterbacks, I guess, and
yeah.
some and Andrew
Well,
Phillips. My
since we're on
God,
the topic, Tyler Nubin. I was such a huge Tyler Nubin fan. I don't know how well he's played, but I was a huge Nubin fan coming out. Um,
first round grade on Andrew Phillips, and he's the second highest rated corner in
yeah,
football.
he's been really good, and I liked him. He was at Kentucky, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked him too. Um,
You know,
but
I wanted him to be the second round pick and for the Texans to keep their first round pick and take Cooper. So you would have gone Cooper and Phillips because I
uh
thought the O line was going to pan out. So that was kind of like my thing.
yeah, no, I did too.
Well,
Unfortunately,
let's see who
I
they
thought,
passed on over like Stover essentially.
yeah, let's go to the
I think
fourth.
that's really
I don't actually remember, so kind of
wasn't it a draft
curious.
pick? Not oh
Yeah, he was
yeah, right there.
123.
Okay.
Man, I would have loved Bucky Irving. I was such a Bucky Irving fan, and he's been so good for Tampa. I would have loved it.
You know, I mean, you
Um,
see Ray Davis, you see
man,
Durendo, Bucky Irvin was good, Malik
well,
Mustafa has
if
been
you really want to get
solid.
dicey, we could talk about how Mason McCormick's been awesome for the Steelers,
Yeah.
and he was like 5 picks ahead. Um, man,
Jacob
yeah. I mean,
Cowling.
yeah, Braylon Allen. Owen would have been so upset if we took Braylon Allen. I think we'll get to his comment, but he hated Braylon Allen, which I thought was funny.
Right. And then at the same token, like there's also better tight ends
Yeah,
that I had over Stover too, like Tanner McLaughlin. He was good.
yeah. I
There's
wasn't
also
a
a
big
guy
Kate
from
Stover
South
fan.
Carolina that I thought was nice. Obviously they
At
didn't
least
get
for
picked.
me, I always prefer if you're gonna take a tight end. Now, yeah, here's McLaughlin.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take a tight end for me, I'd always prefer the guys that are just physically really impressive over like, oh, this guy made some plays in college. Like I'm taking the freak of nature and just hoping it pans out over because I just wasn't impressed by
McLaughlin
Stover.
was
Like,
hurdling guys. He was literally
yeah,
hurdling guys in the Pac-12. Like that was his
I
thing.
wonder. Yeah, no,
Christian
he like
Boyd
I said,
from
I always
Northern
prefer the
Iowa.
super athletic. Let's go check this out. Let's see. Let's go with rookie tight ends.
And the sad
Let's
part
see.
is, Stroud is the one who also wanted Stover there too.
Yeah,
Like you can't let that stuff like that happen. I understand he wanted Tank Dell. Like I get that. Like that's great. AJ Barner. I loved AJ Barner.
yeah. What pick
Um,
was he? Let's
people
see.
liked Eric All.
He went
Fourth round, 122.
Was he
Actually, that
right
might
in
have
front
been
of Stover?
okay. It might have been right in front of Stover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally that two picks ahead.
Oh, well,
Honestly, though, I think they would have taken Stover either way because the way Casario talks
yeah,
about him,
they were
that
taken.
guy loved Kate Stover. Like he wasn't hiding the fact that he loved Kate
Yeah,
Stover. I liked Eric Al when he went, but I liked him. He was
went
like right
before
in
as
front of
well.
Stover too. Yeah. Um.
Tip
Oh
Freeman,
my.
he's a great
Yeah.
blocker from Illinois. If they needed a blocking tight end, that's who they should
Yeah.
have objectively
I mean,
gone for.
if you look at these grades, man, it's pretty rough. 22 pass blocking grade for Stover. Run blocking. Let's see. It's just been rough. And he had a couple drops. He's what is he?
He's
Is
right
he at
there,
the
Dave.
very
He's
bottom?
second. No, he's second.
Oh, hey, there you go. That's actually not bad. Not too bad. I missed him, but that's not too bad. Um, actually better than I expected. But no, I mean, like I'm not ready to say he's a terrible player, but it's not fair to expect him to be this awesome lead blocker when he wasn't even a great blocker in college. So,
Yeah.
um, and like you said, Brevin Jordan was a huge loss, but honestly, it's kind of on Slowick at this point for not adjusting your offense to what you have. So, um,
Yeah, it's the fact that the plays like kind of rely on Stover making a great block. Like
yeah,
tight ends can just get away with good blocks all the time. But they're really trusting Stover, and even the media is starting to catch on to that. Like, oh, Cade Stover gets ran over by defensive end. Cade Stover is able to generate enough power here. Like, yeah, it's true, but they shouldn't be relying on him to do that kind of stuff, and it's not fair. It's really not
yeah.
fair.
I mean, and he's had some decent games, but he's had some absolutely brutal games. The Minnesota game was, I mean, he was getting John Grenard was just absolutely mauling him. Um, New England, I don't remember New England being necessarily bad, but I don't really remember a lot
It
from
was a
that
bad
game.
grade for the Detroit game too. So
Yeah, and he was not good against Detroit. He had, I want to say he had two drops, maybe. Let's see. Uh, First drops. Yep. He had one. Um, he had another one. What was that? New England. Yeah, I don't remember the New England game, like I said, but um, just, I mean, he's not ready to play as many snaps as they're playing him. He's not ready for the role they're putting him in. It's not really a fair situation for him. So, kind of tough to be too critical. But like you said, I didn't like the pick at the time either. So,
he's
um,
24. He could have
yeah.
just signed a free agent if you really needed. I don't know. Yeah, still baffles me. That
Okay.
move
But
baffles me.
I didn't answer the question. I didn't finish the question.
Yeah, me neither.
Worst three moves. Okay. Actually, you want to give your top three moves? Because I don't
Yeah.
think you gave your top three. Yeah, yeah.
Top three moves. I would say Mixon does make a difference in the run game, without a doubt. The way he operates is so much different from Damian Pierce. No offense to that guy. But so Joe Mixon number one, and then pretty much everything they did on the defensive line,
Yeah,
number
yeah.
two, because that includes Daniel Hunter, Tanika Autry, Tim
Tim
Settle,
said.
Mario Edwards. My God, was he playing good too? And then
Yep.
Fuller's been pretty much Mr. Consistent out there. And then look, I want to put Diggs at three because I feel like Diggs had an impact and can still have an
He
impact on
did
this team with
for
what he
sure.
does as a leader off the field. So I think that that's fair. And then they also had just a bunch of quality draft picks in Lassiter and Bullock. So I'd like, and then really the only bad move would be not really examining your offensive line, um,
Yep.
adapting, and then Kate Stover pick.
Yep. I mean, really, there's not a lot of bad moves that they've made the last 3 or 4 years. It's just been the offensive line that's been the struggle. They can't seem to figure out the offensive line, and it's very bizarre that they can't do it. But I mean, the best pick they've made on the offensive line is easily Jarrett Patterson. It's not even close. That was a good pick, and we talked about it. I actually remember because I came on the YouTube stream for the
Draft.
day three of that draft, and we talked about how we liked Patterson more than
Yeah,
Juice
absolutely.
pre-draft, and I
Juice
thought
wasn't
he
even
was a
on
better
my
player.
board. He wasn't even on
Yeah,
my board, and they took him in the second round. And I already had Patterson all scouted and ready to go, wanting the Texans to target him. But no, they, Jesus, can't make this shit
yeah.
up, Jake.
Nope. But like I said, at least they've hopefully figured out at least where Patterson can either be a guard or a center of the future. He's going to
I
play
bet
somewhere on that interior. So
he'll
we're
start.
making progress here. Um, and then if we're going bottom three moves, there's not been, like I said, not been a lot of bad moves. You could do the Stover pick. I also will say I've become more critical of them picking Blake Fisher just because I think the way that your offensive line was built, you didn't necessarily need a tackle and you're trying to contend. So you could have picked a tackle, but like, can he play on the inside at all? Like, can we get a guy that can actually have some guard
Do
versatility?
something this year because it would be nice to have like a
Yeah.
contributor.
I mean, if you, okay, let's
Because
go back
remember,
to the
he
draft.
was picked before Bullock.
Yeah. He was a second rounder.
Crazy. And think about the
Um,
impact that Kalen Bullock has had on this team. If they had another contributor that was performing at that level, oh my God. And the fact that they Rosengarten is starting on the Ravens and got picked after Fisher. I mean, geez, that already
yeah,
pisses me off.
let's see. We can sort by, we'll do the same thing we did earlier. Let's sort by offensive line that was
Blake
drafted.
Fisher, it's just not really fair, but he, first of all, hasn't even looked good
No,
in
no,
this
I'm not
past
saying he's
season
going
at
to be a
all.
bad player. It's just,
Yeah,
um, so if you look, so you got, I, what was he? Third rounder, pick
um,
87.
I thought he was nearly a first rounder. I mean, quite frankly, with Pooney.
Like I said, Zach Frazier he was a second rounder, but he was how many picks is that in
Right,
front? He
that's
was 8 picks in front.
right there.
Um, let's see what else you got. So you have, um,
I like DJ Glaze.
I liked Bordellini. He was a late pick, but I liked him. He was like 4 picks in front of Stover. I
Was
liked Bordellini as a
unproductive.
player.
Could have played guard or center.
Yep. Um, JPJ he was an earlier pick, yeah, second round, but still,
Great
it's
talent.
just it's a little bit frustrating to me that you couldn't get a guy that could have some versatility there because I don't necessarily think Titus and Tunsil are the problem. You could be frustrated with them with Titus trying to strip this football. I mean, it's stupid. Like they're not playing elite football, but they're also not the reasons that the Texans offensive line is struggling. It's the interior guys. Um,
I mean,
honestly, Titus is
obviously,
awesome outside
Titus,
of like he has like 2 lapses a game where he does the stupidest things you've ever seen, but he's good there. I don't understand what goes on in that guy's head. I really don't because every week he's either like falling down for no reason. He's trying to strip the ball. It's like if you cut those out, he's legitimately a really good tackle, but he gets CTE 3 times a
can we
game. And it's
watch
like,
the
what
clip
is
of
going
him?
on?
Well, let's watch the clip of him stripping
Okay,
a
here we go.
Stroud because we need to really analyze and
That
see
was one
what
of
he
the
could possibly
funniest
be
clips
thinking.
I've ever seen. I mean, look, I was watching the game. I was upset, but I still had to laugh. I mean, I've never seen anything like this because
He's like
okay,
hugging him, trying to protect him. I don't know if he actually knocks the ball out. Hold on. He's hugging him, trying to protect him.
and he rips it. That's out. That's because of him. Like, hold on here.
Well,
I'll
the
circle it
question is
right here.
why?
His hands are on
Yeah,
the ball.
yeah. Now his hands on the ball. Why would he not like kind of help him go down? Like, why are you
Yeah.
trying to keep him? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
If anything, because I got no problem. I've been critical of them not helping Stroud the whole year.
Yeah,
So if you're trying to help him just not get hit, then that's cool. But you're holding him up. That's just setting him up to get hit. Like
it hit even
the
worse.
idea that
Yeah,
like
I think.
DJ Bieniemy and other Texans beat writers were like, oh, he's just trying to help Stroud not get hit. He's holding him up. And clearly he's going for the football. I don't care what he says. His hands are on the football.
On ball. Look at that.
I mean, he's on the football. And then if you keep watching, it's not like he lets off when he feels the football. He rips it. His hands are on
Maybe
the
that.
ball. He
I think he was
rips
ready to
it.
run with the ball, actually. I think that
Yeah.
maybe for some
Now
reason he
that would have
thought
been
that
pretty awesome. I will say, if he ripped it and then ran for the first down, that'd have been pretty cool. Like that'd have been pretty awesome.
he saw the Panay
But
Sewell
that would
highlights
have been
and
the best play from a Texans lineman all season if that would have worked. So you know what? Maybe we got to respect Titus a little bit. He was trying something new. But
Just don't
still,
like understand the
just don't know
hand
what's going on.
placement of like
Yeah,
how would that like help him up? I don't like what if his leg got folded under? Just
yeah.
bunch of hoopla. And then Jimmy Ward completely ran into Kamari Lassiter, and that was just bullshit. So
That was, dude, that was so funny because okay, like people are trying to blame like Jimmy for it. I mean, you can't really blame the guy for it. Like Lasseter backed up into him and he just was running. But it's like, it's so funny to me that every time Jimmy Ward plays, someone's getting hurt. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's him, another player, his
make sure
own
someone got
teammate,
hurt.
somebody's getting hurt. Like, that guy is a wrecking man. And it's like, I do like Jimmy Ward as a player, but oh, man, I mean, like every time he's playing something, someone's getting hurt. It doesn't matter who it is. Somebody's going down. All right. Let's move on to more of the mailbox. There's still a couple more, I think,
Yeah.
that we could get to. Okay. Would love to hear potential off-season plans for the offensive line. All right. This good question. Um, and one that I think you can answer pretty easily. Jarrett Patterson starting somewhere. Center, guard, don't know where, don't really care. He's going to start somewhere. Uh, I think honestly, I'd prefer him at center if you want to know the truth.
Yes. Absolutely has
I
to be
think
that
he's just a
center.
smart guy. I think
Yeah,
he
yeah, I
understands the
think
game,
so.
which honestly for a center is a big part of it. You gotta just understand what's going on. So I think Patterson at center makes a lot of sense. I'm still hopeful that Juice can be a guard of the. I'm holding out some hope. Very little at this point, but I'm holding out some hope. Um, because
I'm gonna come
I
back
think
to him on this then, because there's still a
be,
chance, but it didn't look good last week, and who knows what it's gonna look like the rest of the season.
because I think there is some positives with him. If you want to look like grading wise, he actually grades out decently because he's decent in pass protection when it's not stunts. He's pretty good at it, but he can't figure out how to block stunts. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I can't figure out why. But it's just what happens here. But the real issue is at guard, he can't run block. So he just gets overpowered. Um,
Yeah, I
so
think the problem right now is the lack of power and the pad
yeah,
level. But pad level is
yeah,
something
the
that is
pad level's
very
bad.
coachable, and you
Yeah,
just gotta simply practice being the low man and then try to work on generating power. You're not going to get anything done if the guy is down here and you're just
no.
trying to bear hug him like this. It's just common physics for an offensive lineman, and that's got to be fixed. And then we already talked about Shaq Mason. He's going to get cut. I
Yeah,
think the
he's gone.
Texans will look to draft someone because like they don't have that many holes on their roster, so that's going to be
No.
a premium pick for them to spend on a guard. First, second, or third round, the Texans will pick an offensive lineman. There's no way around it.
Yep. If you want to look, because I think always you always see um pretty consistently where you pick a tackle that moves to guard in the NFL. It happens a lot. Like a guard that was in it happens a ton. So you don't necessarily have to look through just the but if you're looking, I think we're okay at center with him. Tyler Booker's been a one that everyone's talked about. Family Guy um, has been decent. I'm not. I mean, honestly, if you want to know the truth, I'm over picking linemen. Can we just sign somebody in free agency? But I don't necessarily know who would be the problem. Uh, Trey Smith might be a free agent. They probably won't
I
have the
was gonna
money
say
to
that's like the
spend.
only guy, but
Yeah. Um, but I think you could also look at moving a tackle to guard, um, depending on size. I don't necessarily know who.
they're
I
pretty
haven't followed
small
it
to me.
that closely, but um,
There's like Josh Simmons, obviously, but
yep. There you go. True pass set 87.5. There we go. But they're gonna have to at least get one new guard if it's not two new guards. So that's kind of where you're at. Tyler Booker's been a one that everyone's thrown out, but if you want to look at guard free agents, let's see. I want to say Zach Martin's a free agent. I mean, he's pretty washed, but um, I saw him. I saw him. He was one that they named. Um, let's take a look. I'm going to do that. Oh, James Daniels is one that would make a
James
lot of sense.
Daniels
I forgot
was
that he's a free
someone
agent.
I originally want them to sign before he signed with Steelers. So
Yeah, James
definitely on
Daniels
my
would make a lot of
list.
sense. I forgot he's a free agent. Um, I don't know how well he's played for, but he's been around for a while. I felt like.
Yeah.
Um,
But you obviously don't get much spotlight now.
no, but I mean, like
Nope.
what you could do too is, like we said, you don't have a lot of holes. You could go sign a guard, like an average guard, then go draft one. Then you feel like, okay, worst case, you can just start the guy who's just pretty much average. Like I said, Austin Corbett. Um, he's feels like he's. I feel like he's way older than 29. For some reason, his name has just been. He's started like forever. It feels like,
Really, the
but
plan starts at firing the offensive line coach. I think
yeah,
is
yeah,
another
yeah.
as well, which could
Like I
pay
said,
dividends.
he's played for a while. He's played right guard, he's played left guard, he's played center. He's kind of up and down, but he's had good years, he's had meh years. But especially recently, he's been pretty decent. So, I mean, he's played 300 snaps. He's given up three pressures and a sack for the Panthers. I think everybody in Houston would rejoice if that was the situation at guard. Um, so a
Absolutely.
guy like that, which wouldn't cost you as much as wouldn't cost you a ton. James Daniels has actually been elite. I think he's hurt now, but I remember his grade was like off the charts. 92 in 200 snaps. He
My
was
God.
awesome.
I mean, I don't
Um,
love PFF, but that's gotta be good. There's
yeah,
no way around that.
yeah, unbelievable run blocker. Another guy that's played left guard, right guard, center. So again, there's free agent options that you could go after. Will Hernandez has been around forever. He kind of sucks, but he's been around for forever. Zeitler, Herbert. I mean, there's a ton of guys that
There's
Feliciano's
options.
actually been a decent player for a couple of years now. I think he sucked with the Giants, but he's been okay with the Niners. Um, so there's options with offensive line. And like you said, draft wise, how many holes do the Texans really have? Not that many. So you can invest. You can almost overdraft a guard
Name a single
if you
hole in the
have to.
defense.
Just yeah, I mean maybe defensively you want to draft a depth
You want to
corner,
get a
but
young defensive tackle. That's it.
that
A young
yep,
defensive end,
Walter
maybe.
Nolan. Let's get Walter Nolan. Let's get a guard, and we're good. Or a tight end, right? Okay,
Yeah.
we go Walter Nolan, Tyler Booker, and Harold Fannin. A plus draft. I'm leaving. We won. We won the draft. Um, okay. Interesting question here from our guy Owen. How many pecans, I don't know. I'm sure people are gonna correct that, but how many can you consume until you die? Let's take a guess.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, we'll Google it after, but I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Let's get a guess in here. So I would say, I think if you consume
I think it's
this is like a hard guess because this could be really high, but I feel like nuts are kind of weird because like I feel like you could eat like 50 and it would be like you'd be like ow.
so like the serving, one thing like the serving is like usually like maybe 10 pecans. So doesn't that mean that you could like low key have like 600 and
It might
to,
be
like
really high. That's what's
I
so
think it's really
weird.
really
Like it
high.
might be really high.
That's what I
I'm
think.
gonna I'm gonna say 200. That's my
Okay.
guess.
It's gotta be in
That's
the
my guess.
hundreds, no
Yeah,
doubt.
I think it will be too because I feel like pecans you could kind of just like throw back pecan. I mean, they're tiny. You could just like start
But
throwing them back,
yeah,
and you wouldn't even notice what you're at. All right,
no.
let's Google. Well, I'm curious to see what Google says because this is this is a this is a difference from the offensive line play that's been so
This is what we
consistent.
needed.
Let's see.
How would they
I
do
don't
this
think we're
to
gonna get
us?
an answer here until
That's not
you.
Let's see.
Okay. We may not get an answer here. This is disappointing. Let's see if you can get an answer because
That's
I want I
virtual.
want to get an answer on this. We need to get an answer on this. This is important information on the Texans Pro here. This is research data.
It
This is
says
life-changing information.
death from eating pecans would be incredibly rare unless they were extenuating circumstances like a nut allergy. In short, while it's unlikely you could eat enough pecans in one sitting to cause immediate
Yeah.
fatal harm, it could still cause serious long-term health issues if done repeatedly. So you
Okay.
can eat as many as you want. I think that's the answer. As
Texans
many as you
Pro
want.
health
You'll probably feel it.
advice.
You'll probably feel it come out of your system, or you'll feel like a nut once you overconsume, and then you might stop. But yeah, go
Yeah,
for it.
go ham on your
Owen,
pecans if.
today I want you to enjoy as many pecans as you so wish.
Yep. All right. And the final one from the mailbox. Is there any player in the draft you think the Texans should look to fill a void next season? Say they pick around 24 to 28. We were actually literally just talking about this. Um, I don't necessarily know if the
Yeah,
value at guard is there. I think maybe
that's
Tyler
exactly
Booker
what I
could.
was gonna say. I think you got to
Yeah.
pick a talented player at 24 or 28, and then, or obviously, this is Nick Casario. We're talking trade back here. So when
Yep.
we look at this big board and their projection doesn't have any offensive linemen there, it's like, well, you're either going for talent, or you're trading back.
Yep. If you want to just like start a mock draft simulator
Yeah.
here,
It's the best way
and
to
see
look
what
at
you
it.
have on the board. I do think Tyler Booker is going to go higher than they're kind of projecting him to go,
Okay, that's
but
fair. Yeah. Like
um,
there's no one. Like there's not
yeah, but
value.
there's just not that. Deion Walker's an interesting one. I think he's a good
Absolutely.
player, could be a fit. Like I said, Walter Nolan for some reason isn't on. He's just low, but he would be a really good fit for what they do. And I watched him at A&M, right? Was an A&M commit. He was, I think, the highest or second highest rated recruit ever to come to A&M. He's a really good player. Um, Good run defender, good pass rusher. He's got a pass rush bag. If you look, literally he had 7 sacks last year at A&M. Honestly, the only reason at A&M he didn't play more and better was because he got hurt a lot. He had injury
Yeah.
issues. He was on and off the field, but A&M hasn't played Ole Miss. LSU played Ole Miss. I think he was game wrecking for a lot of the game. So um, the dude can play.
And then
And would
obviously
be
we rotate our defensive line, so he's going to be in and out
yeah.
regardless. It's not
And
an issue.
and he's not necessarily a big defensive tackle, which is what you look for when you're talking about D'Amico Ryan's type defensive tackles, because he doesn't take these big, huge defensive tackles. You got to be quick. You got to have explosiveness. So he would be one. If you're looking later round, if you're looking defensive tackle, Shamar Turner is a good player. Although this guy, the CTE from this guy is crazy because that dude is like he's punching people. He was the guy before the LSU game that was getting into it with the lineman. He's always trying to fight somebody. So that'd be an interesting guy. I do like him as a player, but antics are a little bit crazy. Or you
I
could
would
look
say,
at tight
yeah,
end
I was gonna
if you
say
wanted
tight
to.
end, Colson Loveland, and then obviously Harold Fannin from shoot, what's the
Bowling
name?
Green.
Bowling Green,
Yep.
which is
Tyler
actually
Warren's a good
nice.
player as
He's
well.
not gonna be taken in the third round. Tyler Warren would
Yeah,
also
he's
be
gonna go
cool.
higher.
Look, I think a talented tight end can unlock really any offense, and we've seen that in the NFL in the past. And oh
Yep.
my God,
96. Yeah. That guy, he is crazy. He's number one among tight ends with missed tackles forced. He's number one in deep yards, number one in deep catches. He has one drop on how many targets? 89 targets. He has one drop. Um, if you want to just look at like when he's played, because obviously Bowling Green, not a program that's going to play a ton of great schools, but you look at defenses that are good that they've played. Um, the one that sticks out. So you get Penn
Yeah,
State, right? Penn State,
tight end
137
ever.
yards,
I mean,
one touchdown.
Penn State and Texas A&M,
Yeah,
and you
back to
just, I
back.
mean, come on,
He
like,
he torched A&M. I know the stats maybe like A&M's defense is really really good. Like I said, you're an LSU fan. You saw them firsthand. Like their defense is really good at football on every level of the field. They got good. They got good DBs. They got good linebackers. They have good defensive linemen. And he torched us. I mean, he tore us apart. Um, and there's nobody else on that offense. It's legit just him. It's like we talk when I talk about like Stroud and friends with the Texans offense. This is legit Harold Fannin and friends. Like there's nobody else on that offense that is a legit weapon, and he tears apart. And if you want to go to blocking, he's a good blocker. A&M, right? Like I said, you're facing these defensive linemen. He ain't gonna do that, but he can block. The guy can block.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, look, if the Texans took him in the first round, I'd have zero issues with it. I would have no issues with it if you want to know the truth. Um, because I think he unlocks a level of the offense that you haven't seen. Um,
Yeah. My thing is like you shouldn't be relying on the first round or a lot of money in free agency to solve your offensive line problems
no, no,
because that you shouldn't first of all, an offensive line is a unit. An offensive line is a unit, not one player. So I'm talking about coaching, I'm talking about scheme, I'm talking about the physical mindset that that player needs to have to put in their all for 5 seconds. That's what it's all about. And then Mason Taylor, I love Mason Taylor. Kind of
yeah,
like a
he's a
Dalton
good
Schultz
player.
in a way, though.
Yeah,
So yeah, talent is the way to go on everywhere else except the offensive line.
yeah, just
The
get
offensive
decent
line is
guys.
so much more
Yep.
than your PFF grade, respectfully, and your
No, for sure.
physical
Absolutely.
attributes. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So
I
that's
mean,
all
Juice
it
Scruggs is
matters.
a perfect example of why offensive line grades are kind of misleading because he hasn't played that well, but he actually has like a 67 grade, which is above average. So,
Yeah.
and I was just gonna throw this out here. I know I've seen this name a ton because you see Texas fans all the time that are Texans fans. No, um, not a good block. I mean, he's literally Dalton Schultz all over. I mean, it just would be pointless. He's exactly what they have in every other guy. And I promise I'm not
Being
just hating because I'm an
homers,
A&M fan and I don't
this
want another
happens
Texas
every
player on
year.
this team. But um, like if okay, let's just go with this. So if we were to do this, all right. Let's say we take Harold Fannin first round. Let's just skip through
We can
this.
take an offensive lineman.
Yep. So you could look at.
I would take
I
Emory
mean,
Jones. Is who exactly I would take. And I would move him to guard and call it a day.
yep. So you could do that. All right. Play Emory
Move him
Jones
to
at
guard.
guard.
Just gonna
Right, and then you
simply
get to the third. Definitely not taking Connor Wigman. Um, you could look
have
at
Donovan Jackson.
yeah, I like Carter. Not necessarily you don't necessarily need a linebacker. Evan Stewart's a good player if you let Diggs walk. Um, or you could go guard
Looks
again if you
unlikely at
wanted.
this.
Um, you could look at defensive tackle. Let's see. I mean,
Sure, Walter Nolan's still on the board, but
he wouldn't. He's not gonna last this long
he's
in
not actually gonna be here. But
A plus draft. Casario, turn it in. We won the draft. We
here we
won the
go. The
draft.
first ever Texans mock draft of the year.
Yep. Rob Moore, safety. Safety is another position where I think you could look to draft another guy. Uh,
Yes, for like kind of, and honestly, like really not even an athletic freak, just kind of like an Eric Murray
yeah,
type of player. Because
yeah,
that's what you need
younger
on the team.
version,
But
yeah,
Eric Murray's he's aging. He's not
yeah,
gonna
and
be
Jimmy
here
Ward.
forever.
Although I still think Jimmy Ward. I know people were bitching about the extension. I don't have an issue with Jimmy Ward being here next year. I think he still can bring good things. He just can't stay healthy. So draft a safety, have Jimmy Ward, have
Yeah.
Kalen Bullock, bring Eric Murray back. That's a good safety room. Um, let's see. I mean, there's other options. I think you could draft a
Interesting
running
guy.
back late
Yeah.
too.
This running back class is unreal. Absolutely
Yeah, it's a
unreal.
very yeah. They'll I think they'll draft a. Oh, are we going free agent rankings already, or is this just? Oh nope, last year's free agency. I was hoping we would get. Let's see. Yeah. All right. No more mailbox questions. That's it for this week. Um,
Good job,
Actually,
everyone. We
that
don't
lasted
necessarily
longer than I
need,
thought. We ran an hour with
yeah.
that.
We don't
So
necessarily need off-season stuff now. I mean, that's, but that just kind of tells you what
yeah,
everyone's thinking right now because they're sick and tired of the offensive line and stuff like that. But that's kind of, I think, going to be my perspective on the off-season, no matter what happens. Really, I mean,
for
unless
sure.
the offensive line plays amazing, but that's not likely
No,
going to
not
happen.
like, not like.
No.
So anything else you want to add from the Lions game to preview the Cowboys game?
I mean, I think that the Cowboys game is just like they should go into it as a must-win game just because of how it would feel to physically
God.
lose that game. You know, we can talk about the record and the AFC South standings all we want. They're going to be fine, but look, this should be a game where they should take pride in it. I wish that Dak Prescott was playing in this game. I wish this was a fully loaded Cowboys team. But they should walk into their trap and take it over.
Yeah.
You know, have some pride. Treat it like a rivalry game. Maybe if you play with that kind of mindset, you'll see improvement from all levels. Play with that energy, and I think you'll just gain more confidence in what the team can do this year. And that goes for the next three games, heading up for the Dolphins, and we'll see how the Dolphins look,
Yeah, I
and
think
maybe fighting for
that could be a good
something.
test though. I do think the Dolphins are gonna string together some wins here coming
We're
up.
going to
So
a surprisingly good defense, so I hate to look forward to it, but yeah, these next
yeah.
three games are kind of BS. So don't treat it like that and treat it like you're playing the Chiefs. Make these games
If
your Super
yep.
Bowl and dominate and kind of just try to figure everything out. You know, Jacob, you're right. The fact that we played close against the Lions should actually be a positive. That's
Yeah,
not
I
what
mean if
we
you the
thought
thing
was
is
going to
that you
happen.
would have told me that they would have lost by three coming into the week, I'd have been like, that's awesome. We probably played well because they did play well. But you can't just fold over in the second half of games. Actually, that's one thing that'll add because I I did some research today, was going through if you want to go by EPA, which for people that don't know, EPA, expected points added, it doesn't really like I don't think it's that great of a stat, but it kind of just tells you how they're performing based on metrics. So the first half of games, offense is 12th in EPA per play. And they're sixth in EPA per dropback. So that's good. That's a good offense. They're moving the ball well, and it held up. It held up in the Lions game. Whether or not there was mistakes, there absolutely was. But the offense was not the issue in the first half of the game. They played well. EPA per dropback, they were high. They were actually, if you want to go EPA per dropback, just of that week in the first half of games, they were like top three or top four. They were moving the ball well. And then defensively, they're second across the board in the first half of games. Um, Second in EPA per play, second in I guess I did it twice, but it's must be the EPA per drop back for the second one. And then if you go by second half, the offense is 24th in EPA per play, 22nd in EPA per drop back. Defense is just middle of the pack. So clearly, there's an issue with how the Texans are treating second half of the game. So that's what I want to see from this next three game stretch. Like first half, I'm sure they'll go into halftime winning. Let's go kick ass in the second half of a game. Like go out there and first half, like first play of the half, like let's just throw it as far as you can to Nico Collins. Let's try something. I mean, let's get some points on the board here. It's 5 weeks without a second half touchdown. That's unacceptable. Um, so that's why I'm holding out hope because if if games ended in the first half, the Texans would legitimately be the best team in football. But they don't. They don't end in the first half.
Saw the
So
Vikings game. They would have won every single game
yeah.
if the score had ended. That's absolutely
So
true. I will say Aziz Al-Shaair is right. The defense did not step up in the second half of the Lions game, and as the
no.
stats kind of show too. So the defense, while they did play this great game, they still had another interception in the second half, and they had some pressure at times. They have to finish the game too. So that's
Yeah.
on everyone. That's on coaching. That's on players. And so really, I
Yeah.
don't
If
care
you
about
want
how
to
the Texans
go,
play in the first half of these next three games. You're right. I want to see a second half touchdown. I want to see the
yep.
defense only allow 3 points, 7 points, something like that.
Yeah. So if you're going week 10, which was this last week, I'm pretty sure. Um, Offensively, There you go. Texans were where are we? I did that wrong. That's early down offense, which they suck at too.
Shotgun.
Yep. There you go. So, yep, seventh in EPA per play in the first half among first half teams, and then drawback per EPA they were third. They moved the ball well in the first half. Rushing success they were terrible, but they couldn't run the ball. This was obvious. They were legit. They were third worst among teams, and that's why their success rate sucks for the most part. Their EPA is good, but their success rate sucks because they didn't run the ball well. Their dropback success rate was eighth. Like they threw the ball well in the first half statistically. Like you said, they missed certain things, but it was not the issue in the first half. And then if you go first half defensively, I would say number four EPA per play, dropback EPA. They were, let's see. Let's see that. Sometimes this thing will be weird, but um, at the top again, right? If you're looking at quadrants here, right, top right is good.
Good.
They're near the top right. So
Yeah.
that's not been the issue. It's been a recurring theme, but that's why I'm holding out hope because to me that just signals a bad whether it's bad coaching or a bad coaching staff or just bad coaching, it's bad coaching. You can't spin that really any other way. Um, you the swing is not it's the same players. So
It
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
it can't be anything else here. And then if you're going defensively, so their EPA per play in the second half of the game was 0.18, which again, not terrible, but Aziz is not necessarily wrong. They didn't play that well in the second half. Um, I mean, their dropback success rate was 61. I mean, not great, even with the two picks. And then if you go offensively, this is going to get ugly. Um, they were 26th out of 28 teams that played. And I mean, their rushing EPA was 19th, and then dropback was literally almost near the bottom. So,
Yeah.
um, they're just and granted, part of the reason that this EPA sucks is because Stroud threw two bad picks. Like it happens. So I'm not necessarily saying it's all Slowick's fault, but if you want to go week by week, it's the same story. Like it's the same story. They're bad on early downs and they're bad in the second half of games on offense. That's the story of the offense. So whether or not you can try to change that, I don't know. But if you play like you do in the first half of games, they'd be a great football team. We'd be talking about a contender. So that's just kind of why it's frustrating. But that's why I'm not also not giving up hope that they can turn it around because I think there's signs there. And honestly, that first half against Detroit was, I think, the best they've played all year. Um, the best half of football they played all year, which it's tough to say, but
It's
I
tough to say
mean,
because of the way the offense performed at times. Like
yeah,
it,
I
not
guess
the
honestly, I
best.
will say,
Like,
I take it
uh,
back. The best half of football they played was first half against Buffalo. That was better. The
yeah.
offense was moving well. That was better. But also, if you want to, I mean, look, this is not trying to make excuses for the offense, but you still haven't really seen Nico Collins and Joe Mixon on the field at the same time. So you get them back. The offense will be better with Nico Collins. How much better? I don't know, but it will objectively
Helps.
be better. It
Exactly.
can't get a lot
There's no
worse.
way it can be worse. No way.
Yeah. So he will improve it. Let's just focus on second half of the game. Because honestly, I didn't think Slowick called that bad of a game against the Lions. I really didn't. There was some bad things, but we talked about it coming into the week. He added RPOs. He finally did it. There was RPO action from the Texans. And the problem was that we were throwing him to Robert Woods. It ain't gonna work. But you put Nico in that spot, it probably works. So look, there's positives to take away. I'm frustrated with how they lost as well. It sucks. It was a brutal loss, but I was encouraged. I was more encouraged by that game than I have been about them almost the entire season. So that's why I'm saying the pass protection was better. The defense played really well for the most part. The offense had a great first half. So it's just I mean, there's positives.
There is.
I'm looking
There
for
is.
positives here.
There's no
But
denying that. There's no denying
but
that.
really, I mean, honestly, like you talk about, you have these three gimme games. You get your bye, and you go play Miami, KC, Baltimore. If you're gonna do anything in the playoffs, those are the games where you can restill confidence in the fan base to be like, oh, we can actually do something. Because right now there's no confidence that they're gonna do anything. And why would there be? But
I would say
these are the weeks.
9-4 looks cool on paper, but we all know how this happened.
Yeah,
And so
yeah. Six and
doesn't
two
mean
look good
much
on
to
paper.
me
They
at
weren't a
all.
6-2 football team, right? Everyone knew it.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I mean, like I said, go kick Dallas's ass, and especially in the second half. Like, I'm sure we'll be up 10 at halftime. Let's get the ball out of half. Let's go score, and just put it away. And let's do it 3 weeks in a row. You get Jacksonville and Tennessee. I mean, let's put them away. That's all I want to see. That's all I want to see.
The way to put it is as simple as they cannot lose that game. Oh my God. None of those
Yep.
games. Wow.
Because honestly, what's frustrating to me is we can talk about how they're not contenders in the AFC, but a lot of these AFC teams don't look very good. They're not the only team in the AFC that's like having issues, right? And
Every game in that play in the playoffs will be close, and it just comes more down to like situational football. Like I don't
yeah,
think the Chiefs haven't blown anyone out. The Ravens have
no.
blown leads. We beat the
I mean, the
Bills.
Ravens secondary is horrible. I mean, like their secondary is like equivalent to our offensive line bad. Like it's awful. They like
Yeah.
guys are just running free. So that's what I'm saying. If that's why I'm holding out hope. If the pass protection really is better, I think this team can legit be a contender. And that's why against the Lions, I was encouraged because there were still lapses, but it looked better. And I will say the run game wasn't there. But will the run game be better against teams that don't have DJ Reader and McLean or whatever his name is? Probably. I mean, that's a really good defensive
And
front.
Brian
And
Branch, like I mean, it
yeah,
was impressive. It was
Brian
impressive for
Branch is an
sure.
unbelievable football player. I mean, there's no way you can deny. I mean, that guy is unbelievable. So
Yeah.
it sucks, but
Why did he get suspended, man? I really thought he was gonna get suspended after that hit.
if he
It
would have got
sucked.
suspended, we probably would have won. If you want to know the truth,
I
that
think
guy was all
so.
over the place.
I think so, honestly.
Yeah,
Crazy.
but anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. Let's just go beat Dallas. Well, let's hope
Yep.
that everything comes to fruition.
Yep. I mean, Mailbox was a fun first round with the Mailbox. I had a good time. We got
Yeah.
to talk about pecans, and
Something
offensive
like
line
that
play.
has to occur every week. Hopefully, we'll
Yep.
find the actual answer, but definitely something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to get Owen. He'll have to ask bizarre questions every week. That's the new gimmick on the Texans Pro. We're gonna get him to come on and ask a bizarre question about food or something every week to cheer us up. We don't have to talk about Juice Scruggs not being able to block a stunt. We can talk about apple pie.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we've legit been
it's a
talking
fun twist.
offensive
It's a
line
fun
for like
twist.
3 years. I mean,
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah.
my God,
I mean,
please stop.
I don't remember the last time we went on an episode and we weren't talking about the offensive line. Week 5, actually the Buffalo game, and no, New England. New England probably the last time, and even then it
I guess
wasn't
so.
great. It just
And
we were
after
like, oh,
that,
it's New
shit
England.
hit the fan.
Yeah,
So
I mean Green Bay was easily the most frustrated I've been with a team ever. That game was like the epitome. Like I said, with this game, he made the game-winning field goal. I turned it off. I went to shower. I wasn't that upset. Like I kind of saw it coming. Like
yeah,
Green Bay was the most frustrated I've
so hard to
ever been.
watch.
I
So
was
hard to watch.
so frustrated with that one because honestly, the Detroit game, I was kind of like, I tweeted it too. I was like, if they lose, it's partly because of Stroud, and if we lose because of Stroud, I'm like, whatever, man. Like if they lose because of him, he's their guy. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's not perfect. He's going to have bad games. If they lose because of him, I know he's going to bounce back. So I got no issues with being like, oh, it's okay. That's why I wasn't that frustrated.
I mean, I would
Like,
be shocked if something like
yeah,
that happens again. He knows it. He knows. He
yeah,
feels bad. Not gonna happen
no,
again.
no, and he's not a quarterback that turns it over very often, and he had
Exactly.
2 bad turnovers. So Detroit's an unbelievable defense. They got these. I mean, Carlton Davis was out for revenge after last year the Tampa game, so that guy was all over the field. And honestly, the throw to Tank Dell was just awful. But I really don't think Stroud saw Davis at all. I don't think he thought he was there. So it's
That's a
just an
really good
unfortunate
play.
mistake.
I thought it was a really good play, but also like the coverage would have told you that that was going to happen too.
Yeah.
Still a great play. So good for Carlton Davis.
Yep.
Ah,
Absolutely.
there we have it.
Well, yep. We're kind of still in wait and see mode with this team. There was improvement. Like I said, I'm actually more encouraged about the team than I was last week. If you want to know the truth, I 100% am. But it's still wait and see. We gotta go against some good team, and you gotta play 4 quarters of football. That's what you're waiting to see. Um, Anything else you want to add, Drew?
That's it.
All right. Well,
That is it.
thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate all the support. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and make sure y'all stay tuned. Well, I guess it'd be next Tuesday because the game's on Monday. But next Tuesday, stay tuned. We'll post the mailbox on Plus City Entertainment Twitter. Make sure y'all tune into that. Go ask literally any questions. Like it could be Texans, but it also could just be random questions
I
that we can
prefer it to
answer.
not be about football.
Yeah, obviously we're gonna answer some football questions, but let's get some weird questions. Let's just talk about. Let's have a rant about random stuff. You can ask us about basketball. You can ask us about anything that's on y'all's mind. Just go ahead and drop any questions. Obviously, we're gonna get Texas related ones,
Thank you
but
guys for all of those.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Got to talk Texans, got to talk Pecans, got to talk. Got to do a mock draft where Walter Nolan was a 5th round graded guy. Definitely interesting, but again, we appreciate all the support, and we will see y'all next time.